topics on how to prepare your children for the future. We have someone that will be talking to us about how to create a sense of purpose and grit. We have another person who will be talking to us on how to raise responsible and independent adults. What about life skills? We need to learn how to equip our children with life skills that will help them to survive independent living. We have another person who will be talking to us on character building and career development. Social skills is another thing we'll be discussing, because it's one thing for your child to be academically sound, to be physically fit, but not socially equipped. So we have a communication expert who will be talking to us on social skills. And finally, we'll be having a business guru who will be teaching us and giving us tips on how to help our children to become financially independent and also financially disciplined. What are you waiting for? If you've not registered, please go and register. Invite your friends, invite other parents of adolescents, other parents of emerging adults to be part of this workshop, and you wouldn't regret that you did. Thank you. You're welcome to our annual Smart Parenting online workshop. My name is Oluwatoyin Ogunkomi. I am a family life practitioner, I'm a psychologist, and I'm also the founder of Parenting Support System. I'm the author of Smart Parenting, Help Who's the Stranger in My Home, and the Parenting Journal. At Parenting Support System, our major goal is to help parents, to provide parents with practical tools, information and resources to raise their children into well-balanced adults. And one of the tools we provide parents is our workshop. Every year we have our annual workshop where we invite parents, where we provide them with skills, tools and resources on how to raise their children for the year. Our theme for this year is preparing your adolescents for the future. It's no longer news that the world is evolving. We all know that new things are coming up every day, new innovation, new technological advancement, new jobs are coming up. Are your children ready for this future? That is why at this year's Smart Parenting online workshop, we have seasoned professionals who have worked with adolescents, who have worked with teenagers, and who are working with young adults. These seasoned professionals will be giving us different topics. We'll be talking about different topics on how to prepare your children for the future. We have someone that will be talking to us about how to create a sense of purpose and grit. We have another person who will be talking to us on how to raise responsible and independent adults. What about life skills? We need to learn how to.
Hello everyone, good evening. How are you all doing? Nice to have you here. You're all welcome to the second day of our Smart Parenting online workshop. And today we're having our third speaker who will be talking to us on how to build essential life skills in our adolescents to help them to survive independent living. And our guest is someone that has been working with things for almost more than 10 years. It's 10 or more years. I'm going to read a short profile and I'll invite her in. She's actually here waiting for us. So let me just read a short profile before I invite her in. So our guest for today is Tina Chichi Ikeji. She is a passionate parenting team educator / consultant. She's also a teen personal development coach who has worked with parents of teens and teens for over 10 years. She runs an organization called Parenting Teens Solution Limited, which is dedicated to educating, empowering, encouraging, and equipping parents with the right tools to help themselves and their teens as they navigate this adolescent journey. It's her mission to help, support, disrupt wrong parenting habits or norms, and to transform the lives of families through serving both parents of teens and the teenagers. So let's welcome our guest, Mrs. Sina. I'm adding you now to the live stream. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are
Hello.
you?
Yeah, it's nice
Awesome.
having you here. I'm so
Nice
excited
to
to
be
have
here.
you here with us. I've been seeing your posts, I've been
Oh,
listening to your short videos, all
yeah.
the advice you give to parents of teenagers and adolescents. Excellent advice you're always giving out. So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. So we really honor, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So
Thank you.
before you start, so I'd like to ask, do you have teenagers as children?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, I have. Yes,
Yeah,
I've
great.
got a young adult, 21. I've also got an 18-year-old
Wow.
and a 14-year-old. Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
wow, wow, wow. In
Yeah.
fact,
So I'm
you're
in
in
the
a better
middle.
position to talk about this
Oh yes.
topic.
Oh yes.
So you have young adults, you have
Yes.
teenagers, and you have adolescents. So you
Yes.
are in the right place. So you've gotten
Exactly.
one of the best people to talk on this topic. So
Yes.
before you start, there was something I wrote in my book, Help, Who's
Hmm.
the Stranger in My Home?
Hmm.
I have a chapter in the book, it's on life skills.
Okay.
And I just want to read something else. It says,
Oh,
congratulations, your child has gained admission into an Ivy League school in another country, and he will be leaving in a few weeks. Yay! But
mhm,
wait a minute, have you prepared him for life outside your home?
mhm.
Have you equipped him with the basic life skills to live an independent life? This is a question I always throw at parents when they're sending their children out of the country or when they're sending their children into the university.
Yeah.
If they prepared that child for independent living, if they have equipped their children with the basic life skills. So today you're going to tell us how to equip our children with the basic life skills so that they can live independently and don't have to keep calling mommy, I have
Mm,
this problem, daddy, I have this problem.
yeah.
Thank you very much. So I'll be leaving the studio now
You're welcome.
while you do your thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I was thinking, can I share a screen? But don't worry, I'll do without sharing the screen. Okay.
You can share your screen here.
Yeah. If I okay. All right. Let me see if it works. I'll see if it works. Yeah. Then if I can. If not, I will leave it. I think I'll
Is
leave
it
it for now.
sharing?
No, don't worry. I'll leave it because it was just something I
Okay.
thought about. Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about this topic because this topic is very, very vital. It's a very vital topic. No matter what our kids, how successful they are in their academics, how great they are getting all the A stars and stuff. If they don't have the basic life skills, they're going to suffer for it, and it's not fair. And that's why we must make sure that for preparing them with these life skills is a mandate for every parent. It's not a case of should we, maybe we not. It's a mandate. We have to. And I'll tell you the reason. I've been involved in a lot of on a lot I've been a part of interview panels where we're interviewing young people for jobs or for roles and stuff, and they can come in with the highest grades in their academics, but we're looking for something else. There's something we're looking for. There's something employers are looking for. There's something that even the universities that you apply for are looking for in your child. So only having academics is not enough. It is not enough to survive in today's world. And that is why life skills are very important. And I'm going to break these life skills into, there are going to be some basic life skills, and then I'm going to talk about some critical life skills that, okay, these are life skills that are going to prepare your adolescents for for the world. Because you and I know, with this COVID, with everything that's going on now, you and I know that we live in a global village right now. So it's not about, oh, let me just teach them skills for the Nigerian markets, or let me just teach them skills for the UK markets, or let me just teach them skills for one market. We live in a global economy. So right now, your children's competitors live outside the country, live everywhere around the world. So we need to prepare our teenagers. I always call them teenagers. We need to prepare our young adolescents for the world. That's the key. It's not about looking locally now. We've got to have that global mindset. But one of the things, these are part of the reasons. But how I want to break this down, I'm going to share some of the skills, the basic skills, the basic skills I'm talking about. Then I'm going to share some main skills. But before that, in the intro bits, there's some things that I need to talk about. I need to bring some things home to us because this is very, very vital. Okay. A lot of life skills, parents, a lot of life skills are learned through modeling. So the skills that we're teaching our children, we're not coming to a board and writing, oh, how this is how to be resilient. This is how to be critical in your thinking. No, it takes the practice. Our daily living is a teaching tool for our teenagers. I want you to note that down. Our daily living are teaching tools for our adolescents. So it's something that you've got to be really aware of in your everyday dealings with your young people. Teaching them life skills is not by schedule. Teaching them life skills is a daily practice in the way you communicate with them, in the way you relate with them. Those are life skills that they really, really need. I'll give you another example. So I've been as well in situations where I'm talking to young people and they can't look me in the eye because they've kind of been brought up with that fear of you don't look at the adults when the adult is talking to you culturally. I don't know why. But that needs to be nipped in the bud, because for someone to employ your child, for someone to get your child in that global position, confidence is looking straight into the eye of the employer. So if you have an interview with the employer, you can't be going, oh, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You've got to look straight into their eyes. And looking straight into their eyes starts from the home. They've got to be able to look us in the eyes when we're talking. Of course, not being rude. We're not telling them to be rude, but they've got to look us in the eyes when they're answering our questions. They've got to look us in the eyes when they're talking to us. They shouldn't be that fear of looking at us straight up. I see a lot of schools complain about that here, where, kids are not confident enough when they're talking to their teachers because they're not used to speaking to adults with looking in their eyes. But that's a skill. That's a skill that our young people need today. So I'm just giving you these reasons as the basics, that these life skills that we're talking about, I can teach life skills from morning till night. But if there's some things that if you're not practicing at home, they won't get it unless you then outsource the teaching to somebody else, like teen mentors and teen coaches. But if it's something that you want to be part of, then it starts in your daily lives, the way you relate with them, the confidence that you give them, the liberty that you give them to be able to express their opinions. Those are life skills. But let me not jump too ahead. I kind of want to break those down, them down. Okay. So we've talked about the intro. I've given you a basics that if we don't have the basic communication going on in our homes, then life skills is a difficult topic to really, teach them in our. So we've got to get the basics right. How are you relating to your young people? How are you speaking to them? Are you speaking to them or are you speaking at them? That's number one. Number two, when your young adolescents make a mistake today, How do you handle the mistakes that they make? Because how you handle the mistakes they make will relate to the resilience skill that they need, because they need resilience. If they're going to leave your house and go to a different country, go to a different uni, go somewhere, they need to be able to have this resilience, the skill to be able to bounce back. How are you handling the little mistakes they make at home? How are you handling the few mistakes they make at home? Because that is key to how they're going to handle bigger mistakes that they're going to make in the future. And we know our children are going to make mistakes. There's no escape from that. But it's how they bounce back that is really, really key. And it starts with what we're doing in the home. And that's why I say it's about modeling these skills in the home. So in our parenting, we've got to be very aware of these skills and put them in our daily practice. We've got to be aware. Okay, so I'm going to share a few basic skills first. So I've talked about the looking in the eye bit. That's very important for their self-confidence. Our young people must learn how to look in the eyes to speak to people, speak to adults, to speak to strangers, be able to look them in the eyes respectfully, of course, and speak, because that shows the self-confidence. And that also is the light that shows their competences as well. Because if they know stuff and they're talking about stuff without eye contacts, then it will automatically look like they actually don't know what they're talking about. So eye contact is key. Number 2 that I've got here is mastering phone etiquettes. You know, we're in a world today where a lot of times now during this lockdown, there may not be a lot of physical going to places kind of thing. So learning how to speak on the phone, because our young people may be able to speak on the phone to their friends, but how are they speaking to the phone? How are they speaking on the phone to, you know, a job, if there's a job interview, or you know, some, you know, how are they speaking? So phone etiquette is very, very important. I'm also going to talk here about cultivating relationships, because our children, if they're going to go, you know, Oluwatoyi gave an example of going to school abroad or going somewhere, you know, going to university away from the home. How are they going to be able to cultivate friendships? So being able to cultivate relationships is a big life skill that our young people need. And we encourage that by asking them, how would they do it? How do you make friends? Daniel, you know, how would you, you know, what would you do when you come to a new environment, and you know, how are you going to make friends in a new environment? These are the kind of questions that as parents we can ask our young people. Let's not assume that, oh, you know, they're friendly, they know how to make friends. Let's ask the questions, so that if we ask the questions and they're stuck, we can then help them. Because a lot of times we may assume, and actually they actually struggle with those skills. So it's really, really good that we ask them the questions. Yeah. So cultivating relationships is very, very important, because if they don't know how to cultivate relationships, they can feel left behind, and feeling left behind can make them very vulnerable. Okay, so that's really, really key, cultivating relationships. I've also talked here about handling emergencies. Yeah, handling emergencies. How do your children handle emergencies? If something happens right now and you're not at home, how are they going to handle emergencies? Because that is really key. And you remember I said I'm going to touch the basics first before I go into the main one. How are your children going to handle emergencies? Do you have a first aid kit at home? If something happens, is there a phone number they can dial immediately? Have you guys gone through a process? An example, like have you done a role play of what can? And we're not saying anything is going to happen, but we've got to prepare. If something does happen today, what would you do? Have a role play with your children so that they know, okay, if this happens, I know to call this, I know to get this person, I know to call this person. So it's very, very important, because that would help them as well when they're out there dealing with emergencies. Okay. All right. And then from there, I'm going to talk about transportation skills. And this may seem quite foreign, or this might seem quite, why should they learn transportation skills? Well, I'll be honest with you, there are many of our young people who are not used to traveling on their own. They're just used to the driver driving them from school back home. You know, if they're going to a friend's, or if they're going for tutoring, there's a driver driving them. How are they going to learn how to travel? Practice again. You've got to be able to let them be able to practice traveling to places on their own, going to places on their own, so that they get used to that independent living of traveling to, because they're going to have to travel to places. If they go to university, they're going to be moving around from one place to the other. How are they going to do that? Transportation skills are very, very vital, especially because they're going to a new town or somewhere. You've got to practice. And again, if they're going to a new town and you're going with them that first time, then you can do a lot of those transportation skill building in that time that you're with them. So get them to practice the runs from school to wherever they live, or going shopping. Get them to practice that. So really, 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 really key. Okay. Also, talking face to face. Again, our kids are very used to speaking, social medias. They're all on their phone and stuff, but they've got to be able to practice that face-to-face communication. And I would tell parents, do a lot of this practice on your dining table. So you guys are all seated down, everyone's eaten. Ask them some questions so that they talk face-to-face with you and give you some real answers. That's another good way to practice the face-to-face talks, because a lot of kids have been disadvantaged by, just because they're on social media, they're not having a lot of interactions with adults. When they get there in the real world, then they struggle. When they get there in the real world, they struggle. So it's important to do that practice. Do those practice at home. The face-to-face communication. If someone comes to you and asks you this question, what would be your answer? Role plays are very, 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 very vital teaching tools, because in role plays, you're able to make the corrections. In role plays, they feel free. They know they're not going to be judged. You're not going to start criticizing them because they got it wrong. You just correct them and say, oh, you know what? Okay, that was a good way you did it. But you know what? Why don't you add this? Make sure that in these role plays, you don't criticize them. And make sure in these role plays, you don't compare them as well, because you want to make these role play situations very safe for them, so that they know that they're not going to be judged if they make a mistake. They're not going to be judged if they say something wrong. That is the best place to learn. That's the best place to learn. So let that environment be a free environment where they could actually learn these skills. Okay, so very, very important. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to go to the main skills. I'm going to go to some main skills, and also what I'm going to do when I talk about these main skills is I'm going to kind of give you some tips on how to kind of model those skills at home. Okay, so I can tell you now, resilience is a skill that we want our young people to know. Okay, we want them to be able to bounce back setbacks. How is that going to relate to how you parent them? And I think that's the difference I want to kind of put into this talk. That yes, you can tell them, okay, my teenager Daniel, you call your teenager's name. I want you to learn resilience skills. Resilience skill is very good for you. If you need to be able to bounce back, whatever comes at you, you can do it, and that's good. The talk is good, but then how do you then practice that? And it starts with how you deal when they make mistakes. So I'm going to start with resilience first. How do you encourage your teenagers to get up from a setback? So, for example, let's give a good example. Your teenagers don't do as well as they needed to do in an exam. They come home upset, or even fearful of what you're going to say to them. What's going to be your reaction? What's going to be your reaction to them? And of course, you're okay to express the disappointments. That's fine. We're not saying hide that disappointment. Yes, you're okay. But what do you do after that? And that's key. Because what you do after that is going to be the model that your children see to be able to get back from a setback. If they see that you're constantly angry just because of that failure, you've not let go of that failure, then guess what? They would always look at setbacks as the end of the world. They will always look at setbacks as the end of the world. And that's what we don't want. So, of course, express your disappointment. Tell them, let's talk about it. Where do you think you went wrong? Have them open up the options. Where do you think you went wrong? They may say, okay, I was supposed to study for 2 hours. I only did 30 minutes because I was distracted. Then we can start taking those tools and saying, okay, now that we're talking about distraction, when you're now studying next time, Keep the distractions away. Keep your phone in the living room. Keep your phone somewhere else. We start giving them the tools so that in the next exams, they get it right. So that's really, really key. And I know why I'm saying this part, because I work with teenagers as well. And I know what they go through when they don't do well in their exams. It breaks their confidence. It just breaks everything about. It's like, what's the point? A lot of them give up. They say, what's the point? So that's why as parents, we must be that encouraging tool for them. That yes, we are disappointed. Now, what are the options? How can we teach them how to deal with it? Because when we have the options, when we lay the options in front of them, in the future, when they fail or when they have a setback, they know that there's an opportunity to lay some options down. It's not the end of the world. So it starts with us. We've got to now prepare ourselves and change our ways of dealing with their mistakes. That's where it starts, parents. Because as well, even if you tell your teenager, or even if you get a teenage coach or a teen mentor to help your teenagers build your teenagers' resilient skills and life skills up, there's still something they've learned at home. There's still something they've learned at home about mistakes. So that's why as parents, we need to adjust our own ways of handling their mistakes. Let it go. Don't stay on the disappointment for too long. You've got to think about them when you're thinking about their mistakes. What is my daughter going to learn from this? What is my son going to learn from this? It's really the big factor. It's really the big factor, because many young people today, even adults today, cannot handle setbacks because of how they were brought up, because of the criticizing words that they got when they made mistakes. They weren't given options, so they don't know that there's a way out. It's only recently a lot of people now are learning. There's work trainings and different kind of online trainings that people are learning now how to deal with setbacks. Many people didn't learn it from home. And today's world, our young people need to learn it from home, because now there are lots of setbacks that they could face more than ever. So I would say practicing it at home, helping them deal with failures. That's key. Okay. All right. Number 2 that I've got here, when I'm saying number 2, among these big skills that we're now talking about, is self-control. So assertiveness and self-control. Our young people need to have the ability to be assertive, to stand up for themselves in the midst of any kind of situation that they have there. They need to have the ability to stand up for themselves so that they don't fall prey to negative peer pressure. It's really, really vital. Very, very vital, because the pressures that our young people have today is unbelievable. They've got more negative pressure than ever. In our days, you'd have to go to it was in school that you meet people and then negative peer pressure can be there. But here, all they just need to do is pick up their phone. There's negative peer pressure everywhere. Schools, there's negative peer pressure. So they have more to deal with than ever. So being able to be assertive is a very big skill that they should have. And that assertiveness comes in having that self-control. Yeah, that assertiveness comes in having that self-control. They've got to be able to have the ability to be calm in the midst of chaos, to be calm, to be able to think things through. Like if a friend says, oh, come, let's do this, they need to be able to say, you know what, let me think about it. I don't think I'm going to do it. That assertiveness comes in. No, I'm not in the mood to do that. And with confidence as well. Guess where you come in? That confidence that your teenager is going to need to be able to stand strong in those times starts from home. What are the words you're speaking to your young people? What are the empowering words you're telling them? Are your teenagers great? Do you tell them that? If they do something good, do you tell them that? Even if they do something bad, do you say, wow, that's unlike you? You're normally this. You're normally great. You're normally this. What is your constant language to your teenagers? And I'm going to go a little bit further because this is one of my great topic areas. Do you shout at your teenagers? because shouting at your teenagers breaks their confidence. Do you shout at your teenagers? If you do that, that's got to be nipped in the bud, because that is part of the skills that they need. They need that confidence. They need to be able to stand up through the test of time. And let me tell you where self-control comes in as well. Now, if your teenagers do something at home and all you do is shout, you're angry, you're telling them off, all da da da, you talk, unfiltered words will start coming out, because anger is such a deceiving emotion, very deceiving emotion. You say all the things that you're going to say to your teenagers in this moment, in this angry moment, and then later on, it's over. There's been no self-control in that communication. No self-control. Because with self-control, what you would do is, at that moment when you're angry, you say, you know what? I'll talk to you later. Because you need to go calm down. That's what a self-controlled parent would do. A self-controlled parent will calm down. You don't want to let loose and start shouting and da, 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 da. That's lack of self-control. But yet, we want our teenagers to have self-control as a life skill. Do you see the disparity? Do you see the link between our daily living and these skills that I'm talking about? Remember I told you at the start, I don't want to come here and just say these skills. One, two, three. I want to link it to how we play a part in it. And I think that's the key. That is the key. So we have to learn self-control. We have to learn to calm down when we get over. I don't want to use the word overexcited, but we need to learn how to calm down when we get agitated. Because guess what, guys? If you're at work and somebody upsets you at work, even if it's your manager that upsets you at work or something, would you not practice a bit of self-control? Would you just go in, shout, make, and express your, would you do that? Or would you just like stay calm? There's a self-control kind of thing that you would do and just be like, okay, let's talk about it. Can we have a meeting? Please, I would love to have a meeting with you to discuss some stuff. That's exactly what we should do at home. That's exactly what we should do at home. That's key. That's what we should do. So practicing those kind of things teaches our teenagers self-control immediately. It teaches our teenagers assertiveness immediately. They have this confidence because you have spoken empowered words to them. They have lived their lives with empowered words, so they know that they're capable of doing stuff. They know that they don't have to please their friends to be able to feel accepted or or part of the group. They know that because they've got empowered words filled in their minds. So it's really, really vital, very vital that we put these into practice, because our teenagers are learning from us. And that's what they're going to go there and bring out in the world. Okay, so please, let's do that. Okay, now creative thinking and critical thinking. In today's world, that is key. And I mean, when our young people are faced in interviews, now interviews have changed a lot these days. Interviews, they always have opportunities to either work in groups and teams, in groups in the interviews, where they ask them different scenario-based questions. They want to find out who are the teenagers who would think critically, who would think outside the box, who are creative in their thinking. They want that. And I tell you where you come into play in critical thinking and creative thinking. So let's say, for example, at home, your teenager, and critical thinking and stuff, they all also link as well to negotiating skills, but I'll talk about negotiating skills slightly differently. But creative thinking. So your teenager comes up with an opinion at home, like, oh, you know what, dad or mom, why don't we try doing stuff this way? And you're like, what do you know? This is how we've always done it. Why should we change it? This is how we've always done it. Okay, again, what have you done there? You shut your teenager down. You've shot this creative thinking that he was just thinking, you know what, if we change it this way, it will look cool. But because we're not used to it, we refuse it. And in refusing it, we shut that creative ability down. Not that we shut it down, but it doesn't give your teenager the confidence to talk about, to even be more creative, unless probably in school or something. But at home, they would just say, you know what, there's no point. If we tell mom, she would just blank us, or she would just ignore us. So a lot of times when your teenagers come up with opinions that you're not used to, remember, their generation is different. Even though sometimes I like to think, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not in their generation. Like, sometimes in my head I'm thinking but I'm not that old. I'm not that old. But it is. We're not in their generation. They may come up with some things that we are not used to. It's okay to be open to learn from them. We don't have to do things the way we've always done things. If they come up with a creative idea or something, open your ears to it. Listen to them. Be open to it. Okay. All right, let's try it. If it doesn't work, then I'm going back to my normal way. But at least you've given them the chance. Because that critical thinking, that allowance that you give them will make them open their mouths when they're out there in the world. When they're out there on a job and they think of something, a great creative idea comes in, they're bold enough to speak it out and not think, oh, they may refuse. Oh, they may not answer. Oh, they may not do this. Oh, they may not do that. They're not going to do that because they've been given the liberty to share their ideas at home. A lot of times, I tell you something again, a lot of times in the workplace, you could be in a meeting and all these young people are just sharing ideas, or no one is sharing ideas yet. And then one person starts, and then is that one person that starts that the bosses hold on to, like, oh, you know what, I love your idea. Let's come meet me for a cup of tea. Let's talk about it some more. But your child was there and your child had the idea but didn't have the confidence to speak out and lost out on that opportunity. Do you see the connection? So that's why at home we must foster that liberty for them to share their ideas, even if those ideas are ridiculous. Even if those ideas are ridiculous, give them the liberty to share them. Very important, because when they go out there, these critical skills are what the world is looking for solutions. The world is looking for solutions. I've just seen a comment. I shout when I'm done talking. No, please don't shout. Especially for teenagers. No. It's no. Okay, we'll come to that. We'll come to that when we go through questions. Yeah, but yeah, I can see your comments. Okay, all right. Now, decision making and problem solving. Decision making and problem solving they're another set of very important life skills that your teenagers, your adolescents must have to be able to survive the world that we're in today. And again, where do you come into play? You come into play with allowing them to make some certain decisions or including them in your decision making at home. If you're going to change some rules in the house, call your teenagers together. Your teenagers are no more 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds who just go according to what the rules, what the home is saying. Include them in the decision making at home. Include them in the shopping, the food, the groceries. Include them in decisions that you're making at home. Let them be part of it. Don't leave all the decisions to just yourself and then maybe the house helps and so. Include your kids in the decision making. Let them know that they have a say. Let them know that they have a voice. Because that's what will make them contribute to decisions that are being out there in the world. Either in school, when they go to uni, they're able to speak up. Another reason I didn't talk about this in the beginning, but one of the biggest whys for these life skills we're talking about is not just for them having the ability to live out there, but for them to be able to stand out. There's got to be something different about our young people compared and not just the paper, that the certificate that they had or from their exams. No, that's just paperwork. It's good. I'm not downplaying that, but there's something else that sets them apart, and there are these life skills that set them apart. You even have situations where in a school or in a university, the lecturer, the professor is like, okay, you know what? No, I know her. She's very good. She makes decisions. She's a problem solver. And that's just the fact that he knows that your daughter or your son is a problem solver can take her far in the university. He can vouch for her. When they're looking for jobs, they know what they have to say. So this decision making and problem solving, very, very important. You do include them. Awesome. Please continue to do that, because that's what gives them the confidence when they go out there. They're used to decision making. It's like, oh, decision making. Oh, I'm used to that. We do that at home. The confidence that you see when you see young people who are involved in decision making and who are involved in problem solving, because the world today, the companies, the digital companies, they're looking for problem solvers. They're looking for problem solvers. They're not looking for people who will just say, oh, okay, what should we do today? Okay, oh, sir, but you didn't tell me this. But no, they're looking for people with initiatives who will think, sir, I was thinking of this issue that you talked about, and I have an idea. I have a solution. I have a solution. That's what you want. Oh, those kind of teenagers, those kind of adolescents that do those kind of things. Oh, the confidence, the admiration that adults have for those kind of young people are unbelievable. You would see the boss saying, okay, please, I need to learn what this young woman is coming to tell me about, or what this young man is coming to say. They're looking for people who would solve problems and not wait until a sir says something or a ma says something. No, we want people to think. We want problem solvers, and it starts from the home. Okay. All right. Good. We're getting there. The next one I have here amongst my things, self-awareness. Self-awareness is another big skill. and what happens with self-awareness is, yes. Okay, cool. Just repeating what I'm saying. Okay. With self-awareness, the thing about self-awareness is that when your young people are self-aware, when they know themselves, it's also, again, that relates to the confidence, that relates to how they communicate with people, that relates to how they stand. It's actually, one thing I love about these skills is that they're all kind of connected in a kind of way, because this self-awareness puts them in a position to stand out. It puts them in a position to stand out. And also, self-awareness comes from, who are they? Do they know who they are? How do they relate to people? How do they communicate with people? Who are they? Self-awareness is key. And see where you link into self-awareness. Affirming who they are. Affirmation, affirming who your children are, helps build up their self-awareness. Observing them. What are they good at? What are they good at doing? What are their talents? Nurture them towards their talents. Because when your teenagers are operating in their talents, when they're operating in their gifts, they know themselves more. They know themselves more. And when they know themselves more, they flourish more. They flourish more. Can you imagine a teenager who knows themselves, who is so self-aware, and then now somebody else now comes to maybe lure them off and say, oh, let's go do this. Let's go and rob this. Let's go and do something that your mom should not know or your dad should not know. A teenager who is self-aware will be like, excuse me? No, not me. That's what I'm saying. So that self-awareness, we have to help nurture that self-awareness, because a teenager growing up, a child growing up will not know exactly who they are. We have to nurture that by moving them towards what their talents are, moving them forward towards what their interests are, not forcing things on them, but operating in their space, observing them. As a Christian, I say pray, ask God, where is my child? Who is this child? What part is this child? It says raise a child, train up a child in the way he should go. Is the way he should go, not in the way everybody should go. There is a way for each and every one of our children. Train up a child in the way he or she should go. That's really, really key. Yeah. So that self-awareness is is a very important skill. Okay. My next one is communication and interpersonal skills. I think that's my last one before we go into Q&A. But communication skills is everything. Communication skills is everything. And communication is not just about reading and writing and speaking. There's a lot to do with communication. Your body language, you guys, you know that your body language comes across. How you present yourself comes across in communication. And again, role playing. How do you play a part in the communication? And that's where I talk about. That's another case. That's another skill where the shouting destroys communication skills. Shouting destroys communication skills. Because you want your teenagers to be able to communicate in such an eloquent way in no matter the situation. So no matter the chaos, no matter the situation that they find themselves in, you want them to be able to articulate what they're saying and speak from a clear mind, because they've learned to pause, because they've watched their mom pause, they've watched their dad pause, they've learned to pause, they've learned that self-control in their communication. They've learned it. Their friends might get on their nerves. A teacher might get on their nerves. They're already wanting to react, ready wanting to react angrily. But no, because of that self-control, because of that pause, they've learned to pause. They learn to communicate when they're ready. They learn to communicate to make an impact. That's how they stand out. Their interpersonal skills. How are they communicating with friends? How are they communicating with their teachers? How are they communicating with the professors in school? How are they communicating? How are they communicating? It starts from home. I would even say presentation skills as well. I get my young people, when they've got work for school, they come home and they think of, oh, you know what? We've got this presentation. I'll say, talk me through it. I want to hear their presentation. I love presentations. I love to hear how they present things, just to kind of give them my own feedback. So do that practice as well at home. You can even set tasks for them. Like, you know what, guys? Let's have a presentation on, you talk to me about this, especially in this lockdown now. Go research, talk to me about communication skills, or talk to me about self-control. Just present it to the family. Do a presentation to the family. That's a way of role-playing communication skills. So it's in kind of summary for all these things that I've kind of talked about. It's very, very important that our daily lives, our daily living shows a lot of these skills. These skills cannot just be thrown at our teenagers. They're built, they're modeled, they're learned. They come in day by day. They're built upon. And the earlier you start, the better it is. Because what you don't want your teenager so late in the game to start learning all these skills. There will be such a big gap between your teenager and other teenagers who have already started. But here's a case I want to say. It's never too late. It is never too late. So don't say, oh, my teenager is almost 19. So what's the point? There is a point. Because for me, I always tell parents that I would rather you make the rest of your teen years the best of their teen years than just say, because I haven't done it from the start, there's no point to do it anymore. No, there's always a second chance. And it's important that we make use of that second chance. It's important that we are willing to learn. Alvin Toffler says that the illiterates of the 21st century, it won't be those people who can't read or write. No, it's going to be those people who are not willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I love that quote. I don't think he was talking to parents, but I've taken that quote for parents. I use that quote for parents because if we can learn and unlearn and relearn ways to really prepare our adolescents for the world that they are in today, we will be on the right note. They will make us proud and we will feel fulfilled that we've done a good job. So this is not the time now to hold on to practices that we know don't work. You've got to think about what works and what doesn't work. If there's some things you're doing that doesn't work, nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud. There's no point to continue with parenting habits that do not work. And I always say this as well to parents, that you going away from some certain parenting habits that you were used to. It doesn't show that you're disrespectful to your parents. Your parents did what they did with what they knew. But now that we know better, we've got to do better. And as I said, it's that our daily living is going to be the testament. It's going to be the testament for our young people developing these skills, for our young people embracing these skills that we're talking about. Let's not leave it too late and leave them to go and learn these skills at home. No, not at home, at work. By then it will be like, is this young person really ready for the world that we live in? And we want our young people to be ready. So the skills that you even learn at work, bring it home. Bring it home. Yes, it's never too late. Bring it home. Bring it home. So that's kind of where I wrap my presentation. Looking at the time. Yep, that's where I wrap it. And then I think I'm going to wait for some questions. Yes, that quote is one of my favorite quotes. Yes, one of my favorite quotes. So I'm open now for questions. I think that's the way it works. Yeah, I'm open now for questions. But yeah, great.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm back.
Awesome.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. So thank you, Dave. Your session, awesome session. I love the teach. I love the way you started by talking about those little things that we think are not important, like looking other people in the eye, our telephone etiquette. Those small, subtle skills that we feel that are important, but they really, really matter when we go out there. Thank you so much. And I love the way you broke down you actually divided into like 4 or 5 major points. You need to learn communication skills, decision making and problem solving. And all these things are things that we need to teach them from the house. So I just want to say thank you very much. So for those that are here now, if you have a question, we have Temitayo Ologun. Also, let me put up some comments.
Okay.
Awesome session. Someone said that. I want to put it up.
Okay.
Over guilt. Okay, let me see.
Over guilty of shouting. Yeah.
Okay.
We need to work on that.
Awesome session. Learning, especially the dining table training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ma. Someone said thank you so much, Ma.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Can you see this?
Yes, I can see it. Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, can you see that? Thank you so much, Ma.
Yes.
Okay. We now know better, so we have to do better.
Exactly. Because if we don't,
thank you, Ma. Thank you, coaches. Thank you. My children are still young. I'll be starting with resilience.
Resilient skills. Yes, because the world
Okay, so I think these are all the comments we have for now.
Okay.
So we don't have any question for now. But I'm going to ask my question.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah. I'm going to ask my question.
Yes.
When you started, you were saying something about looking in the eye. Yes. I know in our African setting, we've been taught not to look adults in the eye.
Yes.
We have to respect them, but all those things.
Yes.
So for a child that is as old as maybe 19, 20, that grew up in that way, how does he learn those skills and start relearning these new skills?
Yes.
So for example, the child is not at home now, the child is in the university, and you've learned all these things on this during this workshop. So how are you going to start instilling these things in this child when the child is not even with you?
Yes. What you would need to do is talk to the child over the phone and say, you know what, I just learned something there's something that I just learned about eye contact. Because now that the child has gone to school, the child is going to pick up that's a problem. Like, why am I not able to look at this lecturer in the eyes?
Yeah.
And the lecturer why is the lecturer thinking that I don't know what I'm saying? The child is already noticing the reactions, because if I'm talking to a young person and the person is not looking at me, I'm going to think the young person doesn't know what they're saying. That's exactly what I'm going to think. So the young person will feel it as well. The young person will say, this adult is not really flowing with what I'm saying. So what I would say as a parent, call your young person and say, oh my word, I know that we used to tell you people don't look at me when I'm talking and stuff, but in this world that we live in, you have to be able to look at them to be able to show. And you guys will even have a laugh about it, because now they're kind of grown now at 19. He's grown. So we'll have a laugh like, oh my word, it's so true. Let's now put it into practice. That, oh my God, I'm sure the young person would even say things like, mom, you guys and your African tradition. Oh, mom, I mean, you guys will have a laugh about it. But it's good that they know. It will be good that they know that you now know.
No, yes.
Exactly. So that's the difference. But because they now know that it's not the end of the world. They will learn it. They will practice it. But the fact that you now know it and you're sharing with them, they know they can do it. Yes. So talk to them on the phone. Call them on the phone and talk to them. Rakiat, you're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you very, very much. I love this quote about the illiterates of the 21st century.
Yes.
I love this quote about the illiterates of the 21st century, that the illiterates of the 21st century, they're not the people that cannot read nor write, but those that have refused to unlearn and to relearn. And we have a lot of parents, well, let me not generalize, but we have some parents like that they'll tell you, no, this was the way my mom taught me and I turned out well. So what are you telling me? What is this thing you're telling me? I don't understand. You want me to stop shouting at my child? You want me to stop beating my child?
Yes.
So how can we now convince these parents that, see, that method is not good. Why don't you try this method?
Yeah. It's
how can we now start convincing these parents with that mindset?
Yeah. I think one of the ways that we can convince the parents is by sharing stories of the consequences. Because when we say we turned out okay, why didn't we turn out great? Why only okay? Because you hear people say, oh, my mom beat me or my dad beat me, but I turned out okay.
Oh, why just okay, right?
Yeah, but why didn't you turn out great? Why okay? Why did you settle with okay? So, but we want our children to turn out great. So let's take it to the next level. Take it to the next level and do something different. Because the shouting, and I tell you something about the shouting, what the shouting does. The shouting blocks your voice from their ears. And I'll explain that to you. So you can shout. They will hear you as you're shouting. All they're hearing is the shouting. Now, when you come to talk to them about critical things, they won't hear you. Because they've just been used to the noise. So if you want your voice to be very powerful and influential, you will stop the shouting. You will know that shouting is dimming your voice. The shouting dims your voice. The shout dims your influence in their lives. And that's why you see many young people today, they go to other people for influence. They're looking out for influence. They're looking out to other people for influence. They're looking out for other people because they haven't had that, they don't have that influential voice in their homes. The voices they have are shouting voices. So we must learn to speak to them in a better way. And the thing about young people is that when you speak to them in a better way, they sit up. It's like, oh, okay, mom is talking to me in a more responsible way. That means I'm supposed to be acting responsible. Okay. It's very psychological. So yeah, I would say nip shouting in the bud, practice it every day. I would always say with shouting, start with less shouting first. Because I've always said this to parents that if I tell you stop shouting, sometimes it's very hard from shouting to stop shouting. But at least start to lessen it. Make it.
In fact, most times the parents are actually shouting while telling them to stop shouting.
Exactly. So just make it less shouting first, less shouting, and then you will find out that there's no more reason to shout because they're listening to you. They can hear you. Your voice is powerful. Your voice is more influential when you don't shout.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We've had an awesome session with you.
I've enjoyed it.
The next speaker will be up very soon. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You're welcome.
If there are other questions, people, you can drop your questions in the comment section. She would read them up later.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We've
You're
had
welcome.
an awesome session. If I right from the beginning of this workshop, all the speakers have been dishing out real insights into how to prepare the adolescents for the future. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So everyone, I'm going to take you off now.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of this workshop. Thank you for being part of this session. Awesome tips she's given to us. While we're about to get ready for the next session, for those of you that don't have the link, I've sent the link to your email for the next session. Thank you so much, Fina. Thank you, everyone that contributed, those that have put their comments. Thank you so much. And for those that are going to watch the replay, thank you so much. So have a nice evening, everyone. Wait for the next session.